is Matt Murphy, former homicide prosecutor. What do you think? I mean, you're supposed to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt. You can't just say his story is so preposterous you can't possibly believe it, can you?
No, they still got to go through the motions. And that's what we saw today. They're methodically going through the evidence. And what's interesting is that this is still a no-body case. So the prosecution still has to prove that she's dead. And so they called a TSA guy to talk about how her passport hasn't been
But nobody
used.
contests that she's dead, not even the defendant.
No, and a lot of people are probably wondering why the prosecution's doing that. The answer is statements in opening statement are not evidence. So the prosecution still has to go through the task of connecting all the dots, checking all the boxes, and then they will argue why his whole defense is totally absurd.
All right, let's go through the evidence that was shown today, because it wasn't just a bloody bathrobe of Ana Walshe's and slippers of Ana Walshe's. By the way, I don't know who goes to bed wearing their bathrobe and slippers, but also some shoes of Ana Walshe's that were bloody, and then most notably, they showed photographs of bloody carpeting that they found. And that exact carpeting is shown in photos earlier in the home. So does that all, I mean, again, he's saying, yes, I dismembered her and got rid of her.
One of the fascinating things about forensic evidence is at the end of the day, it all boils down to common sense. And that photo that we just saw of the shoes, if you look closely, there's blood on the bottom of her shoe. So that's far more consistent with somebody who's stabbed while she's on her feet and struggles and basically kicks the blood or steps in the blood.
There's no reason why her shoes would have blood on them.
I can't imagine any scenario where there would be blood on the bottom of her shoe if it happened the way he's claiming it happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, tomorrow is going to be a big day because taking the stand, it turns out Ana Walshe was in fact having an affair. Her friends say she was planning to leave Brian and take the kids and move to Washington, D.C., where this man that she was having an affair with lived. He's going to be on the stand tomorrow. Here's the thing. Apparently, Brian Walshe, in the weeks leading up to Anna's sudden unexplained death in bed next to Brian Walshe had his mom hire a private detective to track that man and see if he was having an affair with Anna.
Now, that's an ominous thing. When he's killed his wife over this affair, which, by the way, a lot of people think that should have been the defense. I don't envy the defense team here because their client is obviously pulling some of the strings. Because a heat of passion homicide is a totally different thing, sentencing-wise and crime-wise, than first-degree murder. Today, we also heard from the insurance guy who talked about insurance policies. That leans far more towards a first-degree murder or a pre-planned murder, which in the state of Massachusetts really can land somebody in prison for the rest of their life.
And if you had just, said, all right, I found out she was having an affair and I murdered her in a fit of fury and passion.
It would make so much more sense in the eyes of a lot of people, myself included, in the minds of jurors who have all had relationships, have all had hot blood moments. That makes a lot more sense, and it also aligns a lot closer with the evidence than my wife suddenly died and I panicked and I dismembered her body and really sorry about that. Like it's a preposterous defense. And, the prosecution still has to go through the motions here, but that's what I was expecting the defense to do. And apparently, Mr. Walshe is calling the shots behind the scenes.
In all your years prosecuting murder cases in California, did you ever hear of somebody saying somebody died of, quote, sudden unexplained death? Is there such a thing?
I have never heard of that with an adult. There's SIDS, of course, with babies.
Sudden infant death syndrome.
And that's a very common defense in shaken baby cases or child abuse leading to death. But the reason why there's no explanation for her death is because he got rid of the body. Otherwise, that's what the pathology unit of their county sheriffs are for. That's the state troopers go in there. It's like Quincy and everything else.
Why would they present such a preposterous? I mean, I know he listen, he only pled guilty to dismembering his wife and lying to police on the eve of jury selection.
Yeah, so it's not ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not up to the defense team. It's up to Mr. Walshe. And Mr. Walshe, based on everything we've seen, he hasn't made a good decision his whole life, and it doesn't look like he's making any good decisions in the near future either. And remember, he has to testify if they want to run that defense. There's no other evidence. He has to take the stand, and that's something that I'll bring my bag of popcorn for.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Why is that? You
Because
don't have to take the stand. You have the right not to testify.
No, you don't have to testify. But in opening statement, the defense lawyer said she woke up, that whole thing about waking up and nudging her and didn't know what to do in the panic. The only way that evidence comes in is if he testifies. Otherwise, the court will instruct the jury to disregard everything that the defense said in opening.
So you can't just you can't take what the lawyer said as...
You cannot. So he's going to have to hit the stand.
Oh, wow.
Now, for the fraudsters, they always want to testify anyway, even in a case like this where the evidence is overwhelming. And stay tuned for that, because that's going to be fun to watch.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.